let me introduce my guest today, Marquita Miller Joshua. I am so excited to have you. Marquita is the president and CEO of 5-Star Tax and Accounting and Business Services, a member of several boards in the area. You have a bunch of awards. You're a speaker, an author, and a regular contributor on the local news stations, CBS and Fox. Thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me. This is actually going to also go into my next book, but I wanted to get the information out now because people can't wait for help. They need it now. So one of the big questions that, when I was growing and I started out small and kept growing, at some point I'm like, I'm done. I need someone to help me with my books. When does someone know the right time, as you're growing your business, when do you know it's the right time to reach out and get help?
Well, what I like to say is when you know that when you have a problem and there's an issue or something that's keeping you up, that business side of your business and that's keeping you up and you don't know the answer, that is your sign to get help. And so it's really not about a size, because a lot of times people think, oh, I'm not large enough to have an accountant. I'm not doing enough transactions to have a bookkeeper. Or do I really need to have records? And my answer is yes, because this is the thing that you're passionate about doing. You're excellent with it. And you're giving your life to it. I mean, your family is sacrificing. Small business owners take a great sacrifice, and their entire family is in the business, regardless if you think it or not. Everything is on the line. And so you really want to take the time to get your numbers on paper, because the one funny thing about entrepreneurs is sometimes we think about cash flow, not from the cash flow statement that I'd like us to think about it, but from cash flow of the movement of dollars. A customer pays me. I'm excited. Money's coming in, money's going out. And that gets us excited. But until you really put numbers on a paper, that is the only time that you can really understand, am I profitable? Am I sustainable? And so that's why I say accounting is critical to any business at any level. Now, here's the difference. You may not necessarily need to have an accountant that you have on retainer that you're paying every week, or certainly not every day, every week, or every month. Maybe you have someone where you have what I call quarterly checkups with you, or even an annual checkup. So depending upon the size and the number of transactions of your business, that's where you want to find what fits you. But ultimately, if there's questions of, it seems like I'm making money, but I'm not retaining it. Where is it going? Or my favorite question that I get during tax time, how could I possibly owe so much? I don't even feel like I'm profitable. You need an accountant. And so there's indicators that do tell you, because you really want to get the knowledge around your business, because there's a business side of your business. And entrepreneurs love to work in the business, but the on the business is what helps you to stay in business.
Perfect. And I love everything you said. I agree with all of it. I know I have a couple questions here, because I think, some people are like, I can't afford to get a monthly help, or, to even have someone take care of the books for me. I mean, do you have services where you help people set up the books so that they're at least putting things in the right place? And the second part of that question is, what state are most people in when they show up?
Gotcha. So absolutely, there are services to meet you. Now, here's the thing. You just need to find an accountant. There are a lot of accountants. I happen to be on the board of the Missouri Society of Accountants. And so I have the privilege of every month hanging out with a lot of accountants. And so I love it. But there are accountants come in all different types of shapes and what their niche is, and what kind of client that they service, what industry that they know best. So you've got to find someone who knows your industry and that offers a service that fits where you're at from that standpoint. Just the other day, I was on a podcast with some other accountants, and someone asked a question: if I have 700 transactions in a month, how does it count? How much would that charge me? How much would it cost? And you got every different answer. Some people were like, oh, $250, $2,500, $3,500. So I give that example to say, there's someone that will meet you where you're at. But one of the things that I would encourage you to think about, like I said, is to make sure you find someone who fits you, someone who can explain it and you get it. Because a lot of times people will say, oh my gosh, they're talking over my head. That's not a good accountant. Because remember, the accountant is part of your team, part of your success team. So you want someone who can explain it until you get it. It does not, their job is to help you get it. And if there's not a match there, that's not a match. That's not a good accounting match for you. And so when we get customers, we get them in Oh my gosh, various shapes and sizes. And so here's another misconception. People think, oh, when it's a big business, they're going to have all their stuff together and it's just all lined out. I can tell you, I've been in business now 20 years. Come January will be 21 years. And I used to think, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get $1 million plus clients, because I know their records are going to be so much better. And the myth 502, because it doesn't matter the size, who you are as an individual person, how you handle your personal finances. Guess what? It's who you are as a business owner. The only difference is you now are managing potentially more money. And so I say play to your strengths. If you're weak in an area, then identify that. There are things that I have weaknesses in, and I make sure that I have a person on my team to support me, or a person in my power network to support me. So that's why I say you need an accountant. But when it comes to shapes and sizes and how they show up, I've had people that have had shoe boxes, and I'm like, they're bringing all this stuff in there, like got tubs of like the Christmas tubs with the red bottom and the green top. And I'm like, what is all of this? What is all of this? Like you can hear the truck backing up, right? And so we have to get a system. But one thing I can tell you with every one of those clients, there's anxiety that they have because you're sharing an intimate part of your business. The financial part, your accountant knows just as much about you as your spouse or your best friend, because they know your spending habits. And so you do have to have a relationship where you feel you can be transparent, and that you also know it's confidential, because without those two things, and then you want them to know their experience and insight. Without those things, I can tell you, the relationship won't work well, because you can't hide things from the accountant. That only way the accountant can help you if that relationship is there. And so we work really hard to make it what I call a judgment-free zone. If I had $1 for every time I say that in a day during the workday, I'm like, judgment-free zone. Let's just put it out, because our role is to help you. If you did need help, we provide solutions to problems. And if a business owner did need help, they wouldn't be coming to us if they had it all together. So we want to help them from where they are to get to where they need to go. And here's the surprise. It's a work in progress. And even when you feel like you're there, the next time the business goes, you open another store or you start selling another division, you got to switch up then. And there's times where you will outgrow your current accountant, because maybe their skill set or what they can offer doesn't fit you. We are very quick to not necessarily fire our clients from that standpoint, but to determine if there's not a match and to refer someone, because people need different things, and you want to have a win-win relationship, because remember, they're part of your success team. Your success means success for them, and their success should mean success for you as well, because that's their knowledge. So that is my thought on that.
No, that's perfect. I mean, I've read statistically, people would rather share details about what they do in the bedroom than the details of their bank account. It's very frightening. So I love your no judgment zone thing.
Yes.
Me and my husband talk about that when we're talking about our diets.
Yes, like, we don't want judgment in that area either.
It's a frightening thing. And there's a term called I remember telling I was doing some business consulting and talked to some other consultants, and they said, dying in the dark. People are too afraid to share what's happening. They think they're the only one that's struggling or only one that's happening to. They don't want anyone to find out what's happening.
Yes.
That's why they die in the dark. And if there's anyone, I mean, going to a business consultant, but also going to showing your books, because you can tell them what's happening to their money, because a lot of time, and then that's something I talk a lot about in the book, is people don't realize they're dealing with inventory, but their money's tied up into that, and they don't realize what's happening to their money and this and that. So I know that what I'm really interested in hearing about is, I've heard you talk before about these quarterly checkups or quarterly get-togethers where you help people understand what's happening. Like they may understand mowing lawns or sewing quilts or owning a store or owning a hair salon, but you help them understand what's happening with the money. So can you tell me more about what you do in these quarterly checkups?
Yes, absolutely. So quarterly checkups are what I like to say. It's the opportunity for you to work on your business, not in the business. And so that's where we take the financials. You already got to have financials prepared, or financials prepared as part of the process. But that's where, because sometimes people will get the financials prepared and be like, check, done. No, you're not done. What I like to say, the magic is in analyzing the reports. And that's what a quarterly checkup does. It says, how have we performed? If you have, comparison of the monthlies or the last quarter, the last year, where were we at before? Where do we project to be? What changes have happened? Are we in ratio? Because your financials have ratios. You can look to see, for every dollar that comes in the company, I'll just use it in small, every dollar that comes in the company, what amount is going out in expenses? And so for some companies, a dollar comes in, but 75 cents of the dollar goes back out. Or maybe even a dollar comes in and $2 goes out. And so sometimes when you can break it to that lowest denominator for people, it helps them to see, and then it will help you to know, where is your money going? People will often, if I meet with a customer and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm at a loss. That's not the worst thing. The worst thing is to be at a loss and don't know it, so you can't correct it and just keep doing it. You don't want to be stuck and committed doing the wrong thing forever. You want to find out it's not working and then figure out, what do I need to do to adjust? I have a lot of franchise owners in the restaurant industry, and a lot of times it's food costs. And if I look at their financials, we'll go through, and then the next thing I'm meeting with maybe the person who orders inventory, and you would think, why is the accountant meeting with so much staff of a restaurant? Because I am identifying the areas that there's issues in, because I can look at the financials with that owner and say, something's happening with food cost. There's no way that you're making this amount of money and food is this high. Either your pricing module's off, people are throwing away food, there's not a consistent way that it's being prepared, and they're like, whoa, we got to get to the bottom of it. So they start bringing in other employees, and sure enough, there's been times I've discovered, unfortunately, that someone was stealing the food. There was times where employees was giving food away to their friends and family. And so you can't put together systems to identify what the issue is if you don't have something that notifies that you're an issue. I love numbers. I love the accounting part of it. And so I know I'm a numbers nerd, and the financials do tell a story, but it's really to your benefit to have someone sit down with you and go through that. So even if you've prepared your own financials, you owe it to yourself to have a third party look at it. Because sometimes you can be too close to it and miss it. Being an accountant, I have people that my business advisors that I meet with on a quarterly basis, or some this year, it's been annually, where they'll look at my numbers and they'll say, does it make sense? Especially if I'm getting ready to roll out a new service or do a new offering, we flesh that out to make sure, because here's the thing about entrepreneurs, we get excited and we're risk takers. When we get a movement, we're like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the next big thing. And if you have someone who can, what I say, talk you out of it, not in a negative way, but if they can talk you out of it before you get started, then they may have saved you hundreds of thousands of dollars if you weren't committed to it, because they asked you enough questions. Yes, it irritates you because you woke up with this great, grandy idea, but if they can put enough holes in it and you're like, yeah, that's not going to make money, then you've saved yourself from going down what I call chasing a rabbit hole, right? So going down a bunny trail that you didn't need to go. So those accountants, people part of your power team, your business consultant, your accountant, attorneys, people in your industry, they really do play a role, and it's worth it for you to have quarterly check-ins so that you can stop and see, is everything that I'm doing, all the time I'm spending, all the effort I'm giving, all the nights that you stayed up, all the early mornings, is this paying off? Is this success defined the way you want it? I meet with I get the privilege of working with business owners almost every day, and I love it. But I even find some that are stressed out. They're making money, but they're like, this is not what I imagined. Just last week, I had a lady, and she was like, I wanted to own my own time when I started this business. And I'm like, yeah, like I always say, I got 500 bosses. So yeah. I definitely don't feel like I own my own time. They all tell me what I need to be doing. So you've got to know what success means to you, so you can make sure that business model is going to serve you in the way that you want it to be from that standpoint. Because you may love what you're doing, but you could be way more busier than you even would have imagined as an employee, when you can walk, listen, every entrepreneur makes entrepreneurship sound very sexy. But at the end of the day, you're going to work a lot of hours. But the difference is, hopefully you are doing something you're passionate about doing. And in the end, you are what I call delayed gratification. You are delaying gratification now so that you can live a life later The later part is what we sometimes don't like to wait on, as opposed to now, because you have to keep the profits in the business. You've got to know what your profits are. And so sometimes business owners are really quick, especially micro business owners, sometimes will pull the money out, and it hurts the business you've never given the business an opportunity to grow up because you've stripped it so much of pulling out for your own personal needs that the business never was afforded its own right to have enough oxygen to breathe life to keep going. So,
well, and that's what I love what you're, because micro businesses, small businesses, these pay mortgages, these put food on the table, these are how people live their lives. And, so you're like, oh, how can I spare this much money to get an accountant or a bookkeeper? And yet you're saving the business. They're bringing more money home. Maybe even sooner they could transition from working 80 hours a week to living that life they wanted because they did right by their money. And I think 1 year in taxes, well, I had a bookkeeper, right? I knew enough. I had my MBA, just like you, but I thought I could do this. No, I didn't. I had no time. I never did it. So I got a bookkeeper, and then at some point I switched and added an accountant, a CPA to do the taxes, and she found an error, a double entry from the bookkeeper that wasn't noticed. Just that it was added at tax time, but the bookkeeper had already added it. And so we were able to go back 3 years and get $10,000 back from taxes, but we couldn't go back the other 3 years. So there was like 10,000 that I just had to say, oops, sorry, I paid too much in taxes. Right. and, at the time, it wasn't like I had $1 million business at the time, and yet I was overpaying by the thousands. So you think, how much money would you save if you had someone that understood all your books from the beginning, that was advising you from the beginning? 1 year I think I did returns, like I counted something, and 1 year I did returns after the turn of the year, and the other time it was before the turn of the year, and all of a sudden my taxes were 5,000 more just because I did something a week different.
Yes, timing is everything. Especially,
and this is just,
oh yes, all of that matters. And there will come a time in business where there's nothing wrong. Loyalty is great, but there's not, in business, it's, when it comes to accounting and finances, there's a time that you need a checker to check the checker. And so I have clients that have 3 layers of accountants. They have their internal accountant, they have their external accountant, and then they have a CPA that reviews it all. Now, that's not for a micro business, won't start there, but sometimes when things don't look right and you just have that hunch, you're like, I just need to make sure, because people are human. They can miss it. And here's the thing. If you're going to the bookkeeper, the accountant, or CPA during the busiest time of the year, January through April, and you think, listen, we are trained to make you feel like you are the only customer. But during those times, it's like, And so when you're saying, give me an award-winning strategy, most of the time they're like, I am trying to get to customer 201 before it's midnight. So that's why I say those quarterly checkups, those relationships before the conversation. Because in the tax, just like, for example, we're right now in 2020. When we get to 2021, only thing that can really happen, there's a couple of things you can do in 2021 for the 2020 taxes, but the most of it is, I wish you would have told me. I wish we'd have met. I wish we would have talked, because I could have saved you. So here's the thing. And when it comes to taxes, as they say, the secret sauce is in the tax planning. Right now, October through December is a heavy time for our tax planning part of our business, because business owners are bringing their financials from January through September. We're flushing through where they're at to make sure they're still on track with their estimates. And then because of everything that's happened with the pandemic, many of them are saying, do I need to still make the estimates? I'm not going to hit the revenue I thought. So they're flushing through to true up things, but they're also looking at what tax strategies can I do right now or in the next couple of months to minimize my taxes. There's a difference between minimizing your taxes and tax evasion. Those are two very different things. And so one is strategy and it's intentional and you can be documented, where the other is just something different. So that is what we spend our time doing in the fourth quarter of the year, is helping with tax planning, because there's so many strategies you can implement that will help you to get the tax result that you need. There are some businesses that have to show a profit, because let's say they're in expansion mode. And I was just meeting with someone who's going to open up a 4th restaurant. He cannot show a loss. he's got to show a profit. So we had to look at, because he's going to open up another store. They're not going to finance another store if the other stores aren't making money. So we know that on the front end, we've got estimated taxes set up, but then I've got other owners that are more seasoned. They're maybe on the exit side of the business some, and they're like, I don't need a profit for any reason. I don't have bank loans. I'd rather take the profit that's there and reinvest it back in the business or in things that matter to me, dropping the profit, which drops the tax liability. So there's so many, it's all tax planning, but tax planning cannot happen without financial statements, without accounting. And it's, I heard you mention, Elizabeth, about pricing, where people will say, I can't afford that. That's one of those things, without really investigating and asking someone, you may think that something's really expensive, and based upon what you have going on, it may not be. So I always say, get a quote, just ask some questions.
That leads me into my next, because that was like I was like, now where was the one question I forgot or skipped over? Where does someone start? So let's say they're getting ready and they need their book set up, or they've been doing it a while and the books are a mess, or they've been using whatever. When they're getting ready to go ask for that help, how do you? It almost feels like Match.com, or finding like, how do you find? And I guess I knew but didn't realize. I mean, I know that lawyers, like you're not going to have a real estate lawyer do your divorce, or
right.
a divorce lawyer do a family lawyer, whatever. Like
right.
they're all, so lawyers are different. So I'm getting the feeling that accountants and bookkeepers and CPAs, that they're all different.
Yes.
So here I am, a micro business or a small business, and I need someone to help me set up my books and maybe help me figure out how to do taxes, or figure out, like, I think I'm making money, but I can't figure out. What questions do I ask? How do I figure out how do I find one that's right for me?
So here's what I always say: write down what it is that you need to know, what you need. For example, let's say maybe you're owing on taxes. Then one of the things on your list is someone to help you understand, are you getting all the tax deductions? Maybe it's record keeping. You're like, I don't even have financials. Someone who can help you set up a financial system. Do you want them to set the system up and then train you how to do it? Or do you want them to do it? See, when you, there's a mentor I have that says, when you ask a better question, you get a better answer. So if you can start with, what are your expectations? Now, when you go out to seek that person, you will understand what they offer, if that matches you. Now, how do you begin to, like you said, it's not Match.com. Normally, most of our clients come from, with all the things that we've done in the past, we've marketed on TV, we've marketed on radio, flyers, Facebook posts. Our number one way we still get customers is referral, word of mouth. I probably every week get a tag on Facebook where somebody posts, I'm looking for an accountant, and it's not even a group or not even one of my Facebook friends. I'm looking for an accountant. Can someone recommend? Because people trust people that they know, and they want to know, maybe you have someone you're working with. And so someone will tag me, I'll respond, and then we set up a time, what I call a meet and greet virtual now, for us to talk, so I can learn, what do they need? I was just talking with someone today, came the same exact way I'm talking to you about. And so she said, can you give me a price list? I said, I certainly can, but I need to understand what you need, because I got a lot of prices. And she was like, I don't even know what I need. I said, okay, well, I said, I thank you for the transparency. I said, so tell me what brought you to come to see. She said, you know what? Because I keep hearing people talk about legal structures. I don't have a legal structure. I would have thought she's looking for a tax return. She's looking for legal structure assistance. So really kind of defining, the first place is, what is bringing you to the moment to ask for an accountant? And then make sure you find someone knowledgeable. She could have found an amazing person that could do taxes, but she didn't need a tax return. She's looking for legal structure. And so every accountant, every CPA, every bookkeeper doesn't do legal structure. Some people, all of those, some of them don't do taxes. I've got some bookkeepers who refer people to us because they do only bookkeeping and they do no taxes. Then I've got, there's CPAs that I have that do reviews of financials but don't do taxes. So you've got to know what you need so that you can find the person. And then most importantly, someone who is experienced in your industry. Because that, just like what you mentioned, Elizabeth, with that double entry situation, that person may have been a great bookkeeper, but if they didn't understand, let's say they've been doing bookkeeping for service-based businesses, but they didn't understand bookkeeping for retail when you have inventory. Just one switch of difference. So ask your person, the person that you're talking to, you're interviewing them. Do you have clients that have employees? If you have employees in your company, then you want to make sure you have an accountant that has services for business owners that have employees, because there's a whole different rules that come when you have employees in your company from that standpoint. Or if you're a product-based business, some providers are excellent with service, but they're not good with products. Our firm does not take on manufacturing customers because I don't know enough about it to be in it. Could I muster my way through one? Yes. But am I doing the customer the best decision and right by them? No. So I refer them. I've got other accountants who only do farms. I had a lady that came to me and she said, I have llamas and I want you to do my account. I'm like, well, guess what? I don't know anything about that. So I'm going to refer you to someone who I trust, who I know who can take care of you. She's an accountant that specializes in rules. And so you just want to make sure you get someone who knows your business, because sometimes people will come to me also and they'll say, my accountant is horrible. And I'll say, tell me what happened. And they'll explain. I'm like, well, really, they're not horrible. They're good at that part, but you're looking for this. Got to understand what you need so that you can get what you need out of the relationship.
Yeah, that sounds great. And also, it seems like about half the people don't know what they need because they don't know where to start. But that's it, getting a referral, someone you trust. And I've had the same thing with lawyers. I think I went to a real estate lawyer and he referred me to a publishing lawyer for something, so that it's like, oh, they all really are very focused, and sounds like it's the same for bookkeepers and accountants. And when you have great people like yourself who are willing to say, yeah, that's my jam, or that is not, we don't do that, but I know someone who can do that for you. And I just love the judgment-free zone thing. People really need that when it comes to money and
yeah,
their souls.
That whole transparency thing, if you're not able to be transparent with your accountant, it doesn't work. So probably 2 years ago, we got a couch in my office. And so my office manager was like, you need a couch in there because I don't know what goes on. It seems like it's much more than accounting. So we got the couch. No one ever sits on the couch now because of COVID, but you do have that. You have to have that relationship with your accountant where because you can be truthful, and their role is to help you and to not judge you, to help you. And so, if they can't help you, they certainly should not hurt you. My theory is if I can't help you, I'm going to refer you. If I can't help you, I'll refer you. And so, because ultimately, again, business is done by referrals. And so you don't want to work with someone and they're like, oh, they're okay, when you could have worked with them for what they do that they were great at. So,
yeah. No, that's great. And that's, like you said, you've mentioned it several times. Your accountant is part of your support team. And that's part of what I cover in my book. I love everything you said. Do you have any kind of final thing to tell a small business owner to kind of?
Yes, well, I would say that number one, Elizabeth, congratulations on your book. I know this is your additional book. You did another one that was dynamic, so I'm sure this is going to be just as great. And your last one helped so many business owners. And so congratulations on that. Kudos to you. And so I would just encourage you as a business owner to resist fear, because what I find a lot of errors get made when it comes to fear. And so when you're fearful of something, it's because sometimes it's unknown. Most of the time it's an unknown area. And just know you are not the only one. You are not the only one. And the sooner that you can get help, the faster you'll be able to exhale. I have so many customers that have come to me and that were fearful. I mean, rightfully fearful. I mean, hands sweaty, shaking. They're like, I could just feel sick of the stomach. And I'm like, whoa, because this is my area. I'm like, oh, it's not that serious. But that's how fearful they were. And then after they got their legal structure set up properly, they got a plan for accounting, a plan for their taxes. They were like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I would have done this years ago if I'd have known this wasn't this horrible. And so don't put yourself through the stress and the strain. And even if you have a bad relationship with one person, you don't stop eating at fast food because you get one bad customer service experience. Keep going, because this is your business. This is your livelihood. And you, just because you got money moving around does not mean you're profitable. And you owe it to yourself, to your family, all the things you said yes to. There's many things you say yes to as a business owner, which that means you're saying no to other things. Sometimes that's dance recitals, that's cheerleading camps, missing things. You owe it to yourself to make sure you are operating a profitable and sustainable business. So eliminate the excuses, find somebody that can help you, and trust them and move forward and know that you're not the only one, but you can be on the better side of that sooner than you think.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Marquita, for meeting with, I love everything you said. I'm so happy that you came on here and shared everything with everyone today. It's super helpful. You're going to help a lot of people, I know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.